and welcome to the November 14th, 2013 Longview City Council meeting. Tonight, our prayer and pledge will be led by Pastor Ken Davis of Fellowship Baptist Church of Kilgore. Would you please stand?
Bow with me briefly, please. Father, we thank you so much for loving us. And Lord, we just want to pause briefly to thank you for your sovereignty, for your holiness. Lord, it's that time of year where we truly want to be thankful for what you've given us, for the love that you pour out on us, and for the mercy and grace that you bestow upon us. Lord, I ask you to just be a blessing for our government, starting nationally and then stately and then locally. Lord, as we go through this meeting tonight, may you be glorified through all of it. May all the decisions be based on you. Give us discernment, God, when making important decisions where we would be pleasing to you. Bless each and every one of these people that are here tonight, that you would just guide their lives in the way that would be thankful for you, God. We thank you and we love you, and we praise your holy name. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'm going to get you back here and get started. This back here. That's the thing. Okay. First item is citizen comments. I have a, let's see, I have a speaker card, but that looks like that's for a zoning item. And I have another card for an action item, but only to answer questions. And that leaves me with Mr. Donald Webb's here tonight. There he is. It's your floor, Mr. Webb. Come on up here. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing all right.
All right.
I see you got a full house.
Yeah,
Almost.
They all came to listen to you.
Well, maybe. First, I just give honor to God. I want to say just a few things. Remember Dr. King in the 1960s. He said, think for yourself. Don't let someone else think for you. He also said, an individual that do not stand for anything will not go along, they'll go along with anything. I want to talk about the District 3 town meeting, October the 1st, 2013. I heard about it, I read about it. Residents voicing their concerns and about the problems in South Longview. I didn't like some of the things I read about it, but I know we can do better if we put God first and stop putting our little groups together and different little committees that not standing for the South Longview. We need to stand for everybody. I want to talk about Obamacare, the Democrat Party, the Republican Party. Obama don't care about America. The Democrat Party don't care about America. The Republican Party seem to have a problem with America. This Obamacare, I thought about it, stayed up late last night, thought about my granddaughter. I don't want nobody in the government deciding whether my granddaughter or your grandchildren or your children be operated on or not. And you won't be able to talk to the doctor. Somebody else in the government would tell some committee yes or no, whether they get treatment or not, whether they get a certain kind of medication. It's time for America to wake up and put God first, because Jesus is the only one that can save America. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Webb. All right. Okay, we have a special presentation item tonight, and it's to consider the naming of a baseball field at W.G. Bill Lear Park to our previous mayor, Earl Roberts, Jr. Earl? usually make us get on this dais, just so I feel taller. David? It is my honor tonight to kind of tell you a story. When I thought about running for the city council, all roads led to go see Earl. Of course, I didn't know who Earl was, okay? I didn't know he was the godfather of the city council. So I went in to see Earl over there on H.G. Mosley and sat down and had a discussion. And I didn't know anything about the city council. I'd been talking to, at the time, Mayor David McWater out at Pinecrest, and we probably were, anyway. But anyway, he told me that the city council was really looking for some business people, and yeah, please. And so why would not consider that? Well, I never considered that. So Road led me to go talk to Earl. And after finishing talking to Earl, I knew it was a good decision. This man has been nothing about what's good for Longview. So on the council when he was mayor, he had the vision and the foresight when Bill Lear bought property over on the Loop to say, at the time we were losing our baseball fields and our soccer fields because Stroh's had sold. And Earl, and I see Andy Mack here tonight, the vision of those two council members, led to the successful development of Lear Park. And tonight, we want to thank Earl. I want to thank Andy as well. But tonight, what we want to do is name a park, especially out at Lear Field, for Earl Roberts Jr. Earl, this is going to dawn a field for you in your name that the kids and the grandkids can enjoy for the rest of the time of that park. And again, thank you on behalf of the citizens of Longview and the City Council.
Thank you very much. You did the talking about it.
You sit down, because I want, Miss Betty, I want to say one other thing. Today, we learned about our credit rating being improved by Standard & Poor's. Probably the biggest thing that Earl did as mayor was to reduce our tax rate and lower our debt that we continue to enjoy today. Matter of fact, in talking to the bond rating agency today, they said, you know what, y'all have a pretty low debt for a city your size, and it was this man right here that led that charge to reduce the tax rate and reduce the amount of debt that we had. Earl, thank you very much. We're going to take just a short recess so people that don't want to stay for the remaining meeting can leave. Council's in recess. Council is back in session. Council, may I have a motion on the resolution?
I'll move to accept.
I have a motion, a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion passes. Presentation of the Member City Award to the City of Longview Parks and Recreation Department, Mark Lord, Executive Director, Texas Amateur Athletic Federation.
Honorable Mayor, Council, this is the bus I'm waiting for. I want to thank you very much to have the opportunity to publicly recognize your staff and department for the awards they received within TAF. Longview's been a big-time player within TAF for years and years, and I drove all the way from Austin, Texas to come here today, and that's a
And
pretty
we
good little haul.
appreciate
Well, no, that's how important it is. And I want to say thank you, but I want to let you know that you got a jewel coming here in the springtime. Y'all have basically the third biggest sporting event that TAF offers, the Boys and Girls Youth State Basketball Tournament. It's been estimated that it's $750,000 to $1 million economic impact over 3 days. 180 to 220 teams. It will be huge, and I have complete confidence in this crew here.
Good.
Let me get to the awards.
Okay, while you're doing it, can I introduce everybody that's here tonight? Let's see, we have Harry Enneman. Mr. Harry, okay, we have Willard Young, Mr. Dave Owens, Seth Powell, Katie Puga, we have Francine Mellon, she's not here, we have Leah Anderson, and we have Skylar Parrish. I did pronounce that right? All right. Thank y'all for being here, thank y'all for the great job.
The first award that I'd like to publicly present is an award that the state office gives every year to member cities. We have 4 levels. We have platinum, gold, silver, and bronze member cities. And once again, I don't know how many awards y'all have won here. You win it every year somewhere in the categories. But this year, 2013, City of Longview, silver member city. The next award is actually voted on by our membership through the awards committee. This is the highest award a city can receive from the Texas Amateur Athletic Federation. It is the TAF Member City of the Year Award presented to the City of Longview Parks and Recreation Department for all their outstanding service in hosting youth events, promoting youth sports, adult sports, and presenting and supporting the Texas Amateur Athletic Federation. It is my pleasure to recognize City of Longview, Member City of the Year. The last award will kind of explain how you got
The last,
the
we
other
don't
two.
get any more? Oh, look at the people we got up there. We need a few
Well,
more.
This one is actually where it recognizes an individual. This is the TAF Service Award, presented to Harry Enneman in recognition of his noted service, dedicated service to TAF. Harry's provided service to TAF while serving this position as the TAF Regional Director, 15 years, Executive Board Member, 5 years, and has served a member of various committees since 1996. He continues to support TAF through registrations, hosting state tournaments, and promoting regional individual sports events in Longview and TAF Region 6. His willingness to devote his life, skills, and efforts to Texas Amateur Athletic Federation is greatly appreciated. Harry Enneman, it's the people behind the department that make you really look good, and I want to say thank you very much and congratulations.
All right.
Once again, thank you for the opportunity, and y'all have a great
Thanks
meeting.
for coming. Hey, spend the night too. All right. We need some of that Austin tax money. Pardon me? Oh, I don't blame him. Okay, thank y'all very much. Staff, great job. Ms. Enneman, congratulations, pal. Okay. Council consent agenda. Are there any items for separate consideration?
Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Item N is what I want to
All right, do you want to pull
consider.
it or you want to talk about it
wanna
now?
pull it. And the reason why I want to pull it, because,
Well, it doesn't, I mean, that's fine. Hold on.
Okay.
Let me back up. All right, so we're considering consent agenda with the exception of item N.
Correct.
May I have a motion? Have a motion? Second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes. Okay, item N. Go ahead, Mr. Smith.
well, one of the reasons, the first reason that I want to pull this particular item, Mayor, is because in looking at this, it doesn't have a target or aspiration amount on this particular approval level. Right now, our reservation is $50K. So giving this, it's like giving a blank check because we don't know what the cost of the event's gonna be. It could be $100,000, $125,000, I'm not sure. I'm just kind of uncomfortable with giving it a blank check without some kind of data. This is our first time going into this type of
Okay.
event business, and I'm not actually comfortable with giving just a blank check on it.
Okay, let me ask a question. And again, this is an item whereby the city manager can negotiate a contract. In this particular case, the way it's written is regarding a, co-sponsored events at city-owned facilities. All right, so he is authorized to authorize a contract, but it would have to come back to the city council for approval.
No, sir, that's not what we're asking for.
I mean, as far as the dollar amount.
The dollar amount you've already approved in the budget. In this particular year, we budgeted $70,000 for the 4th of July festivities.
Okay.
So we have it in the budget. The contractual need is because, and we worked extensively with the city attorney's office, purchasing department, risk management, and we talked to other cities. And this co-sponsorship plan is for us to work with let's call it entertainment promoter, where we're both absorbing some of the risk to bring an act here that allows us to recoup the expenditures we're putting out for the 4th of July. So we did budget up to $70,000. That's been approved in the budget.
Okay, I think you've answered the question. So Gary, there's we approved the budget already.
For $70,000.
Right, so you don't have a blank check. I
So-
mean,
so if
but
anything-
obviously, that's for the entire 70,000 for the entire event?
That's the city's expenditure. Now, the promoter brings funds to the table because we're entering into the co-sponsorship thing. For example, maybe he gets alcohol sales and we get this. We have to be able to negotiate those types of details.
But our exposure is $70,000.
Yes, sir.
And so, yeah, what
Yes, sir.
Councilman Smith was concerned about, that it was a blank check where you could write for any amount, and
Right.
that's not the case. It's
Okay, great.
70,000.
That's
Okay,
what I
you-
want to know.
Hold on just a second, Sidney. You okay with that?
I'm okay with that.
Okay, Sidney?
The $70,000, Ms. Hill, that you're mentioning, is that for one event or is that for 12 months?
This is for the 4th of July, and for example, 30,000 of that 70 is for the fireworks.
Okay.
And we're taking that through the standard purchasing process. The 40,000 is our ability to bring in concerts and other activities to put on the festivities for that entire
For
day.
just for that one event?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and last year there was 10,000 people there on a very quickly put-together schedule. So hopefully this is going to really be a big event. And I think we saw some of the numbers preliminary numbers
Yes,
of
sir.
what it brought back to the city, which was good. Did you have something? Okay, Mr. Frost.
That's just an example of how it can be used. It can be used for other side, besides the 4th of July, but it gives us flexibility to go quickly on those matters.
Okay. Mr.
If you're,
Frost.
if you're negotiating a contract with some big-name musician to come to Mod Cobb, and he needs to know within a week, 3 days, a week, this covers that, does it not? That y'all can go ahead and make a contract?
Yes, sir. That's why we're asking for it, because our normal
Okay.
process is so extensive, just getting on your agenda.
Right.
We need to work the way the entertainment industry works, instead of having them work the way we work.
Right, because well, now the way it is, they can just get a contract with Willie Nelson and it'd have to
No.
come here. It would have to
Well-
come to us at the next meeting.
Yeah.
Maybe 2 weeks, and he got his schedule to move on, so I
Right.
think that covers that.
Right.
How much money?
Keep on. Well, we'll hire Richard.
that
No,
ready in 7
you know,
years?
with
That
these
over and above?
kinds, with these types of acts, I mean, they're booking schedules a year plus in advance. So last year, the decision was made for us to put on this event at a very late date, and
Yes,
we were
sir.
lucky to be able to get the people we did who were fine. But we figure that will bring more people into the community with a little bit more exposure in terms of the act. So I think we're all pretty clear on that. May I have a motion?
Motion to approve?
Have a motion, a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion passes. Thank you. Let's see, zoning items, public hearing to consider application PD 1311.
Thank you, Mayor Dean, members of council, Mr. Willard. The applicant, Clark Maloney, is requesting to rezone from agricultural to planned development, single-family detached for approximately 20 acres as proposed Sunset Trail subdivision located on the north side of Spring Hill Road, west of Eric Lane. Let's see if I can. This is the proposed site plan. It is for 30 lots. It would be a private maintained street, that it would be a gated subdivision. Would have a wooded reserve area for a nature preserve. The comprehensive plan does designate this area for low-density residential. Planning and Zoning Commission and staff did recommend approval. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Excuse me, Mr. Allen.
Questions from the audience or questions from us?
Well, it's a public hearing. Did you have something?
No, what I wanted to see is what's on the board right now. Thank you. I wanted to get an aerial map, so I could
Okay.
get, yes.
All right. This item requires a public hearing. The public hearing is now open. I have a speaker card from Wes Watley. Did you want to speak to this matter, Mr. Watley? Okay, please come forward.
I'm Wes Watley, 1305 Spring Hill Road, and I'm here tonight to ask the City Council to vote in the affirmative for this proposal. I think it would benefit the City of Longview, the County of Gregg, and the school districts Longview and Spring Hill with this development. Mr. Maloney, I've been talking with him, the developer. He plans to live in that particular area, and I think that's a definite plus for the community, and I'd ask the City Council to vote in the affirmative on this proposal.
Thank you, Mr. Watley. Okay. Let me see, is there anybody else who'd like to speak? I do have a speaker card from Travis Crafton. I see he has his Miss Shirley next to him over there. Miss Shirley, this okay with you? No, but he's here for questions, I'm sure. But is there anyone else that would like to speak to this matter? If not, public hearing is closed. Ms. Richard, yeah.
I want to echo Wes's comments. Thanks for coming out tonight, Wes. This is in my district. This is a great project. It's going to have sidewalks on both sides of the road. Each house will have a couple of trees between the sidewalk and the streets. It's going to be apparently a very well-done subdivision, and I think a real asset for the part of town, a part of town that's growing very quickly. So,
Nature trail as well.
yeah, the area in the back is going to be
Yeah.
super. So anyway, kudos to them, and glad you're doing it. All right, thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Move to
Okay.
approve.
Okay, I have a motion. So all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion passes. Okay, action item A, consider matters incident related to the issuance and sale of the City of Longview General Obligation Improvement Series 2013. Good afternoon.
Afternoon, Mayor.
This is Mr. John Martin.
Mayor, Council, John Martin with Southwest Securities. Thanks for having me tonight. We have dropped at your place a booklet that describes the sale of bonds. This is the second sale out of a planned three-phase sale, three sales from the authorization from the voted street bonds a few years ago. So this issue, we hope to put project money of roughly $23.3 million in the bank. The bonds were sold via competitive sale today. We took bids at 11 o'clock this morning. These now come in via internet. And so I'll go through some of the high points here, if you don't mind, just a couple of minutes. Behind tab 2 is the bond buyers index, and you can see where interest rates have gone here really since 1999. The far right-hand column, this shows you that the first week of November, which was last Thursday, this closes, these are valued at the close of business, close of the market on Thursday of each week, 4.56. So it was up 8 basis points from the prior week, but stayed from 2 weeks before, it was still 4.56. So interest rates are low, or continue to remain low. We bumped up there the first week of September at 5%. We started rising there early part of the summer, late May, when there was talk of Fed tapering and that sort of thing. As you see, when in September, that was as a result of government shutdown and whether the U.S. government was going to be able to pay its bills and so forth. So you might be wondering, when we sold Phase 1, which was on August 25th, 2011, so if you look back at that, interest rates at that time, you can see the index was 3.83%. So rates were a little bit lower. Those bonds went off at about at 2.7%. So a really good, you all are getting very attractive rates. Behind the next sheet, and there's a graph, a cute little graph there behind it there. If you like graphs and charts, those are there for you. The next couple of pages behind the blue sheet are the rating reports. The first rating report is from Standard & Poor's Corporation, and the other one is from Fitch Rating Service. As the mayor alluded to a few minutes ago, congratulations are in order. You all have been upgraded to an AA+ rating. That's AA+. That's one notch from perfect. That is the same credit rating as the United States government.
Richard, make sure you got that.
I think I'd buy Longview bonds first, wouldn't you?
I would. Only thing you can't do is print money.
But there are some great points that the analysts from S&P, we met with them. We met with them by a teleconference back here in the back room here a couple of weeks ago, very rainy day, and had a great conversation with both S&P and with Fitch. Spent about an hour each with them and going through everything. So I want to compliment David and Angela and Marianne, the great job that they did talking about all the good things going on here, and they were able to answer everything just lickety-split, no problems, no pause or anything. So that was very good. Some of the points you'll notice in the first page of the S&P report and those bullet points, I want to point out to you, especially with the press here, very strong management and good financial policies,
Copy.
which relies on long-term financial forecasting. They also say amortization of the city's debt is fairly rapid. 65% of the debt will be retired in 10 years. So we might have debt, but we're paying that debt off. So that's very impressive. So those are a couple of things. Talks about your liquidity, that you all have strong cash reserves. You all have policies in place to make sure you stay liquid and you have good fund balances, so you all are able to really survive rainy days, and that's something that's very strong. The Fitch report says more of the same. They speak specifically in their first page, talk about the mixed debt profile. They talk about that the school districts have around here have some substantial debt, but this what we're responsible for, the city itself, is contracted with low direct debt, and the long-term obligations do not pressure the city's budget. So I think that's very important. So all that being said, any questions so far, feel free to interrupt.
Questions?
Mr. Richard, to reiterate something you said, John, because I zeroed in on that Fitch thing that you mentioned, because sometimes people hear that our average debt per capita is above average, which is what's said there. But that's because of what they call overlapping debt. And you mentioned the school district. So everybody knows that Spring Hill and Longview and Pine Tree have all done these great bond issues to do the things they've done to improve their school districts. The city's debt is average or below average, but the overlapping total debt per capita is high for that reason and that reason only, correct?
That is correct, sir.
Thank
And, it's unfortunately, not to ding the school districts,
No,
but
not at all.
that's the only business that they're in. That's their only revenue source is the tax base.
Right.
that
But
they
again,
can
if it gets reported, Richard, that the
Yeah.
average debt per capita is
Yeah.
above average, it's for that reason.
Right.
And I just wanted to stipulate that. Thank you, John.
Absolutely. Would you like us to review a draft before it goes?
He's got it, I promise. He's got it.
Sorry about that. Okay, back to the report here. Behind tab 3 is the bid tabulation. It's a sideways page. Shows you received 7 bids. And you can see the low bidder was Robert W. Barrett and Company out of Red Bank, New Jersey. That's just across the river from Manhattan. They buy a lot of, there was also with their bid, there was 20 different firms involved. So they had quite a syndicate of spreading liability. So I think that really gave them some strength to be able to bid strong. They were just a hair better than Bank of America Merrill Lynch out of New York. First Southwest, almost local, Dallas, gave us a nice bid there, 3 basis points off at a 4.79. Then they start to move off Bank of Oklahoma, Raymond James, Hutch Shock out of Chicago, Piper Jaffray out of Minneapolis. So while they were a little out of the money, I think it says a lot for Longview that these people were interested in bidding on your bond. So, and that's
We've had 7 before, right?
I don't know that you have either.
Yeah. I don't think so.
What is your TIC down here? What does that stand for? I see the.
TIC, thank you for asking, is true interest cost, and that's what the bonds are awarded on. So if somebody says, what kind of rate did you get on your bonds? You go to what we call the TIC. So 3.76.
Over the full span there.
So that's an
Right.
average.
That's the average.
That's the average interest cost to you, the true interest cost to the city. The premium is what they're bidding in terms of the way that and I'll show you how that works here in a second, that comes back in your pocket and offsets. We're getting $23.3 million in the bank, but only having to borrow 21.8 or so. So I'll show you how all that works. The next page shows you some details, shows you the bonds are going to be dated December 15th. Money in the bank, you guys can start spending this on December the 17th. First interest payment coming up in this fiscal year. We have double-checked with Angela. We put that in the budget, even though we're in the middle of the fiscal year. We wanted to go ahead and put a payment in. That helps our bids as well. The quicker that an investor can get a return on his investment is a good thing. That helps our bid. These bonds are callable in advance. In other words, we can pay them off prior to their maturity beginning June 1, 2022. So the 23 through 33 maturities are callable. Your ratings are shown there, and then the contact people involved with the transaction are below that. Finally, the sources and uses of funds. This is where kind of the balance sheet of the transaction shows you that we're borrowing actually $23,170,000. With a premium that Baird is bidding of almost $600,000, that gives us about $23,760,000 to work with. Of that, the project fund will drop into that the full amount of what we needed out of this particular sale from the authorization of $23.3 million. By the way, that leaves us roughly $8 million, which is on the pro forma that we did when we sold, when we had the election. We figured we're planning on that in 2015, so I would assume we're still on track for that. So there's about $8 million left out of that. So we're almost done with that authorization. Cost of issuance are detailed back behind, $145,000. That's Southwest Securities, McCall, Parkhurst, and Horton, and some other, the Attorney General, Standard & Poor's, other service providers involved in the issuance. The underwriter's discount, that's a fancy word for sales commission for the bonds. So Baird are going to pay themselves roughly $300,000, assuming they can sell the bonds. The next page shows you, this is really the most important page of the whole deal, and then I won't bore you with any more numbers. This shows you your overall debt profile and what your payment structure is. Very important to you all. So you can see your existing debt service goes out, and this coming year, $6,662,000 some change. And That won't change. Next year, you had $6.4 million. We add on the new payment of about just under $1 million, so we go to $7.4 million. And we're projecting very conservative property tax base, just 0.5% growth, and we've been averaging much better than that. So if we assume a little bit of growth there, that tax rate is projected to be 0.1357. Now, well, what did we put in the pro forma when we talked to the taxpayers about this? That number was 0.1408. Okay, so we're about 50 cents under than what we thought we were going to be. So, or excuse me, a half a penny, not 50 cents, a half a penny less than what we thought we'd be. So that's important to note there. So again, the flexibility S&P liked and Fitch liked shows you there that because we're taking care of business. So your payments, you jump up there to about $7.4 million. It drops down to $7.1 million and then $7 million for a few years. And finally, after about 10 years, you're down to in the $5 million range. And then your existing debt was through and it was out in 30. Now it's out to 33. So you all are in a very nice position for a city your size. I know it sounds like a lot of debt, but by comparison, you're really in great shape, I promise you, by comparison to cities your size. There's some other information behind that. Tab 4 shows you the notice of sale and preliminary official statement. This is what was used to market the bonds. Has all kinds of, there's a lot of legal mumbo jumbo in there, but in the back there's some interesting economic and demographic data that certainly is, while it is factual, it is shows Longview in a very good light. So after we're through answering any questions that you may have, the last sheet there, that last blue sheet, is a form of motion, not to put words in anybody's mouth, but sometimes that helps.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Martin. Questions? Yes, sir, Richard.
You mentioned that we're in good shape. What's the benchmark that you're using to say that we don't have a lot of debt compared to cities our size?
You spoke, Mr. Manley, to the per capita
Yes.
number, and that by comparison, also the fact that you have your rapid amortization of 65% of your debt being gone in 10 years, to have 50% amortization, that is in a AA category. So you're well above that.
So this 8.9% debt service burden, is that also a benchmark?
That's with your overlapping debt. Remember, as you just pointed out, that's with all your schools too.
Okay, that's good.
Any other questions? Sydney, go ahead.
This is not a question. It's
Well, this is about questions.
well, this is a question then.
Oh, okay, a question.
All right. Are we going to have discussion, or is this the end of it?
We're getting ready to make a motion, so
Good,
go ahead and
good,
say what you
okay,
got to say.
all right. I just want to say thank you for the excellent sales tax reports we're getting. But one thing I want to make a comment on is, with our AA plus rating, what that means to me is the money's coming in, but we're not spending it. We're putting it back, we're holding on to it. You know, we get concerned lots of times when we have money coming in, well, they'll just come up with a new wish list and they'll go out and find a bunch of ways they want to spend the money. With a rating like AA plus, our staff is holding on to the money. Now, when this rating starts going down, they're spending the money. But right now, we're very fortunate that we're able to hold on to the money and put it back in reserve. That's it.
Okay. Whatever.
Well,
I don't know what
Mr.
that's
Allen,
about.
could I speak to that? One thing that the rating agencies did point out in that, and I'll try to find it here real quick.
Might have called on our banker back there to tell us
It
what
did
that
talk about the fact that the one thing that they had noticed over the last trend over the last 3 or 4 years that is, I can't remember if it's Fitch or S&P, but it's buried in here and you can read it. Talks about that we've had drawdowns on our fund balance, and then we've built them back up, and then we've spent them down. The rating agencies really like to see that, because that is, as you said, you're not hoarding the taxpayers' money. So that is one thing that's pointed out. I also want to point out that in terms of the debt service fund, we are paying out fund balance out of this, over $400,000 out of that fund balance to make next year's payment to conserve for the taxpayers. That's that less of a tax rate that they'll have next year because of that.
Okay.
Thank you, Sidney. All right, any other questions? If not, may I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Have a motion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion passes. John, thank you for your hard work, buddy. Appreciate it. Okay, we have, let's see, action item, darn computer. B, consider resolution authorizing city staff to acquire right-of-way parcel 27 by using eminent domain to condemn said parcel. Mr. Bonds.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. As you're aware, the City of Longview is acquiring right-of-way for the George Ritchie Road Extension Project on behalf of the Texas Department of Transportation. And we have acquired all of the properties with the exception of one. And I have a motion I'd like to ask that you make and approve, and I'll do that after I hear any questions or get any comments
Questions of
from
Mr.
council.
Bonds on this item? Richard?
I got two things I want to say about this. This is in my district, and the two words eminent domain just make my hair on the back of my neck stand up. I think most Texans are pretty independent people, and the last thing we want to hear or see is one of our neighbors, even someone we don't know, having their property taken. So having said that, there's two things I want to say about this particular instance, and that one is that we've been well informed by Mr. Bonds and his staff about the negotiations in this project or in this particular situation, and I think they have negotiated professionally and fairly with the property owner. Now, the property owner probably wouldn't feel that way, but you know, it's a very tough situation on both sides, and I think you and your staff have handled it very well, Mr. Bonds. The second thing is, eminent domain should only be handled in a very narrow way, in a very specific way, and that's for public works. And unlike some other cities that have been widely publicized in other parts of the country where they've taken somebody's land and flipped it to a developer so the city could make some money and build some high-rises and the city gets more tax, that's the wrong way to use eminent domain. I think we're using eminent domain here the way it's supposed to be used, and that's for a public project. It's a road that benefits all people and not just the city. So for those two reasons, I'm going to vote in favor of this after you make your motion.
And if I'm not mistaken, this piece of property will still, they'll have property on either side of this road.
Yes.
For-
yes. This is not ruining their property.
For
It's,
them to be able to develop,
piece of it.
you know, their property
Yes.
at some point in time, should they choose. So anyway, okay, you want to make the motion?
Well, I have
or
a
read the
motion I'd like for you to make. I move that the City of Longview authorize the use of the power of eminent domain to acquire certain property in the Daniel Benton Survey, abstract number 31, Gregg County, Texas. Said property consisting of a parcel of land approximately 3.094 acres, known as Parcel 27, and more particularly described in Attachment A of the resolution before you tonight for the purpose of construction of a public road and associated right-of-way as part of the FM 2275 George Ritchie Road Extension Project.
I make that motion.
Okay, I have a motion. Second, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Bonds. Thank you, Mr. Manley. Okay, item C has been canceled, so we'll pull item C. Item D, consider a resolution awarding a contract to and authorizing directing city manager or his designee to execute necessary documents with Guyla LLC DBA Municipal Service Bureau of Austin, Texas for collection agency services. Mr. Willard.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. You have before you this item, as the Mayor read the caption to you. A little history briefly. In August of 14th and August 21st of this year, City of Longview issued requests for proposals for collection agency services. This has to do with collections of our outstanding debt and accounts receivables in municipal court, in our water billings department, as well as in our EMS services that we provide. RFPs were issued with criteria that we published, and we invited two firms to come in for presentations and evaluations from our committee. The criteria was based and scored, first of all, on experience. It was scored at 30%, work plan, 35%, pricing 20%, previous collection rates 10%, and then a local preference was given of 5%. The scores were evaluated and scored on that criteria that we published, and the resulting scores is the basis for our recommendation to you tonight. The score, MSB scored 72, and Lineberger firm scored 64. So as a result of that, we're making the recommendation that you award this bid to the high score MSB out of Austin. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Okay, questions, comments? Mr. Frost?
I was wondering how we could figure out a way to collect more of this. Sean, can you put that up there? The total outstanding accounts receivable is 7.7 million there. The first column is the collections from May to April 12 to 13. And you can see that's our net revenue we received out of it, $685,000 plus. Now, what I'm wondering is, the municipal court, by state law, that contract has to be that the contractor gets 30% of what they collect. And you'll notice, if you add the utilities and the EMS together, that collection from municipal court is over 2 times larger. They collect 30%, the other two collect 12%. But you look at the accounts receivable, you add water, utilities, and EMS together, it's over 2 times larger than the municipal court. So is there some way we can get more revenue collected out of the utilities and EMS? That's my question.
One of the things, about this situation is, I thought that the number was somewhere in the $4+ million range. I was way off. It's $7.7 million, and ladies and gentlemen, that is just that's a huge number, okay? And make sure this is delinquent, either fines at the court, or people paying their water bill, or people not paying us for EMS service. And this is a huge number that stays in our books that at some point in time we end up having to write that off. Well, in my opinion, we should really look at the process that we use, and I will say that I'm sure that the team that assessed and made the recommendation, followed the criteria and process they were given. I'm not exactly sure that I personally, when you talk about this kind of money that's out there, and that money right there costs every taxpayer. Let's not forget about that, because when people don't pay and the city has to pay, we pay them with taxpayer dollars in a lot of cases. But the reality is I personally think the process should be really considered. And 2 things that come to mind. One, this is a service contract. This is not, we have to take the low bid type contract by state statute. And when we start looking at the criteria, as the city manager has pointed out, one thing I think should be given more consideration is the fact that it's a local business, and what the local business, their interaction, and what percent of that total score should really go. In this case, it was 5%. I think that's low. I would say that, no, I will say that I think, the fact that it's a local company, we hear all the time when we do bids for projects and whatnot that the local company didn't get, and state statute says we got to take the low bid, but we can take up to 5 or pay up to 5% more because it's local. And I think that's where that number came from. But in a case like this, when we're talking about that kind of money, I think that's too low. I think 1/3 of the process or the scoring should be related to, hey, it is a local company with, the local contact that we can go to and work harder at reducing this amount. I think the other thing is pricing, okay? But when you're talking about numbers like this, I think one of the bids was they would do 12.5%, but once they got to a certain number, it would go to 25%. Well, if we're gonna get 25% more of money that we haven't been able to collect, me personally, I'm all for that because it's just sitting on the books and we're not gonna get anything. So if we have to pay more to get more, that's a bigger carrot for that company to have to go and work harder at getting more of that money. Then the other part of the grading is other things. Have we used this company before? What is their rate of collections that we've experienced or that they have experienced from other contracts that they have? You know, one of the things was there's other ways that you have to pay that one company has that the other doesn't, whether it's cell phone or go log into a website. Reality is most of the people that aren't paying this, they can't afford to pay it, and a lot of them don't have a cell phone and don't have a computer to go use, so I'm not sure that's an advantage or not. So I personally think that it's more of a process problem consideration that we're dealing with. And I would also suggest that, you know, when we look at a committee that's going to make a decision based on that kind of money, it probably should be a broader committee. Okay, we asked the people that are directly related to using this service, and I personally think we should expand that to where we include other departments or department heads that you know, they don't have you know, any skin in this game, okay? And make it more subjective, have more items that we use as criteria to grade this from. And this is our second go-around with this, and again, personally, the amount of money there is sizable, and anything we do to, you know, reduce that beyond what we've been collecting is a plus for the city. So that's my thoughts on it.
Well, now,
Mr.
in
Frost.
some discussions since I've gotten here, like Sean pointed out, that on the municipal court, they've got a bigger hammer, so to speak, in collecting those fines, because they can take somebody out there and say, well, you better pay this, and have somebody standing there, a policeman or something like that.
Or
Whereas,
they have those roundups too,
yeah,
periodically.
roundups, whereas the water utilities, you can cut their water off, so to speak. You've got that hammer. EMS, Angela pointed out that, well, a lot of that is involved with Medicare, what you can charge there. Is that, Angela, is that right? Okay. So there's maybe some caveats in these numbers, but they're still a pretty big number.
Gary?
I've boggled with this process all week, basically, between these two actual candidates for this particular contract. And after I read the staff report based on, like you said, Mayor, experience, work plan, pricing, previous collections, and local office, in those three categories, experience, pricing, and previous collection and local office, they all were basically the same. But where the challenge was for both these firms was a work plan. And in my opinion, I'm gonna vote in favor of continuing to keep this contract, because the city's already spent the money having this team here put together, I guess by Mr. Willard's staff, to come in from different departments and grade this based on a point system, which, in my mind, after reading it, it was a fair process. Maybe next year, or when the contract ends, we can step aside, write another contingency plan. You know, you want additional people on that particular board, you want to add additional questions, I think that's great. But at this point, we've already spent the time and money to have these individuals to go through this process to score this for both candidates for this particular contract. But where this company out of Austin came out up front was because they had the ability, and like you said, Mr. Mayor, people like to walk in and pay their taxes to have them. But this company, we have to look future down the road. And in the future, in the next 5 or 10 years, everybody's going to have internet access. Unless this company can get up to speed on internet access and be able to pay their bill on the internet without going in, I think that was the advantage on what I read previously. And I'm going to be in favor of voting for the continue what we have now and
Let me
continue
just
forward.
mention
That's all I
one
got,
thing
Mr.
you
Mayor.
mentioned as part of the grading was whether or not the city had utilized one of these firms in the past.
Yes, sir.
And that criteria did not appear, but the city did have a contract with MSB back in the late 90s.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that information wasn't in there, nor was what their rate of returns and some of the, collection percentage, et cetera, was. So I just wanted to make sure that you were putting that in the comment that, as the criteria laid out, it was not reported that they had once held the
Yes, sir.
contract.
But I think we as a council have to have trust in the people that we have to make these scores and surveys for us to
Yeah, again,
determine.
it's not about the people, Mr. Smith.
Yes,
It's
sir.
the process.
The process,
From my
okay.
position. Oh, Sidney, I'm sorry.
I think I agree with Mr. Smith. When you've got a scoring here, you've got 72 points for the winner, and you've got 64 points for the second, and they actually had a 5-point advantage, as I think you mentioned. So if you took that 5 off, that would take them down to 59 points. So they're having. Now we mentioned home collections. I'm a little bit on water utilities and EMS. If they want to pay their past due amount, can't they come here to City Hall and pay it?
I would
Yes.
think so.
Well, yes. So, yes, so in other words, they're not sending their money to Austin. In other words, if they're past due, Austin is the one that's encouraging them to pay their bill, but they still come into, they don't have to pay it over the internet, they don't have to pay it over a credit card. They can walk in right here to the City Hall and pay their bill in order to get their past due taken care of. I think that's one point. This is paid right here. Maybe the process needs to be changed. I think it's very, and I'm going to use it, disrespectful to come in and try to change the process after it's already been in effect, and the people that are taking these bids, or we've got a technical name for them, what do you call them? They're not RFP, request for proposals, have already gone through this twice and decided the same company that they think should be awarded the contract. I just don't think it's, at this time, we should, I'm going to use this, we should disregard what their recommendation is at this time.
Okay. You mentioned the ways to pay. Were you referring to the MSB?
I'm referring to the physical. I don't want there to be a misunderstanding. In other words, no matter who we contract with, the people still will be coming into the city hall here to pay their account.
So what you're saying, the fact that one was graded higher than the other because they had all these different ways to pay, you're saying they can come right here to City Hall and pay, so that's really not a big advantage?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay. Yes, sir, Mr. Sims.
Mayor, I disagree with accepting this. I think I agree with what you said a while ago, that we should reject this proposal tonight and have the city manager come back with a group that's a little more diverse and reconsider this. I don't know that there's a big rush to pass this because we've been operating without it now for some period of time. So I would suggest that we reject this and reconsider.
Okay. Okay, so anybody else have anything? So basically, we've got two motions. We got one motion with a second to approve, and then So do we need to do that one first? Yes, ma'am, somebody's,
I'm not, why don't, is anybody, let me have a motion. Let's start from here.
well, I got somebody waving a hand. Is this Miss Tanya Kerr?
Yes, sir, I'm with MSB.
Oh.
I thought if I may answer some of the questions, it sounds like a little bit of misinformation has been discussed, and I'd love to talk it through or any questions.
Counsel?
Yeah, I like
Okay.
what she says.
Nobody else is here from the other agency. That's the only consideration I'd have. Well, we can't have citizen comment at this point. We've already done that. She's actually with the company. So, counsel,
If you, I mean.
okay. Sir?
If you want to consider a motion, I think that your motions that would either to accept it or to reject it. But if you're wanting to go out for additional consideration, then you would need to reject before you move forward. So it's, that's how you would need to proceed on this matter.
Okay, well, I mean, I think we understand it's either we either accept it or we reject it. We're not talking about anything else at this point in time. But as far as, I have Tanya Kerr here, do we do that, or does council want to, we've got a motion and we've got another motion now. Did you have something?
Yeah, I want to comment to what you just asked. I don't think it's quite fair to allow her to speak at this time since the other firm is not represented.
Well, I mean, council's had all the data to look at and questions to ask and whatnot. Ma'am, no disrespect to you, but I think council's been asking the questions for the last 2 weeks is the only thing.
She said misinformation, and I just wondered what she was talking about.
I mean, if there's some misinformation that we
Well,
have.
they can bring it back to us.
Okay. My discretion. Our discretion. Okay, so what does council want to do? You want to hear from Ms. Kerr, or do we want to move forward?
Here.
Sure. Okay, Ms. Kerr,
Okay.
you have, you're on the clock, though.
I understand, and I don't want to waste your time. I just wrote some rough notes because truly I did think that this was already approved, and I thought the committee did a very thorough job. We've been up here for 2 presentations and certainly did quite a bit of research. And you're right, Mayor, we were a firm that represented the city of Longview back in the early 90s.
Late 90s, I think.
Okay. The point being that this is a very cyclical type of industry, and you'll see you used one agency, then you didn't appreciate the results, then you use another agency, and you kind of go through. The contract allows you to do that. And that's the point. We are an extension of the city. We are here to serve your taxpayers. 7.7.
Excuse me, Ms.
Yes, sir.
Kerr, you're here to correct, you wanted to come and speak to correct? We're
Right.
not.
Let's just do that then. So when you talk about all the different ways to pay, we've seen a 300% increase in our customers, and we represent millions of taxpayers around the country, 37 states. We've been in business for 22 years. We've seen a 300% increase in people using the smartphones and the Microsoft tags and some of the things, the technology. But he's exactly right when he says every one of your constituents has the right to come in and pay, and we encourage them to come up to the office, to the city hall, and pay, whether it's EMS, water, or municipal court. And again, we outscored the other agency because we do a better job, and we will out-collect the other agency that you're considering. And when you're talking about the committee that scored us,
What are the other negatives, or
Okay.
we're not for the sales pitch.
Right,
We're
that's a
after
good
knowing
point.
what
Okay.
you have.
so you said that you need to pay more to get more. I would disagree with that. I think that's not the case in this situation. It is a state mandate on the municipal court that it's a 30% add-on fee. The other agency would do just the same. We talked about that it's the process, and that's exactly right. It is the process. And when you look at our proposal, and the proposal that, again, has been reviewed by this committee extensively over this past year, it is absolutely where we outscored the other agency. It is the work plan, and it was the process.
Excuse me, but my only
Yes, sir.
question would be, A, that the local consideration. The local office didn't get any more consideration than that. The second
Thank
thing
you for
is-
bringing that up, because...
The second thing
okay.
is, excuse me.
Sorry.
You just mentioned it about your 300% increase. One of the things we asked was to have some historical data from the different companies as to what your collection rates were at some of the other, municipalities, whatever,
Right.
that you have taken care of. We didn't see that information.
Yes, sir, it is in here. Oh, and Linebarger had to put it in as
didn't
well.
see it.
It's on our proposal, and if you want, I'll sit back down and look it up on the exact page. But that was one of the criteria that we had to submit,
Good. Well,
was our rate of return.
that's what we asked for.
And 21% was one of the current Longview on municipal court. And for several of the ones that we turned in, 27%, 34% are what we are collecting. And again, we use them as references that your committee vetted and called and spoke with. And we're a nationally acclaimed firm, as I said before, but when you talk about that local business being only 5%, you're talking about a law office here in Longview. There is not collection being done in Longview. The Linebarger firm, just like us, has a call center, and
They're not here to defend themselves, so I'm going to ask you not to refer to them.
Okay, I won't refer to them. You don't litigate these accounts. These are small dollar accounts, and if you do, you can talk to anybody on your committee, and if you do decide to broaden the committee and do this type of search, they will tell you the difference between a law firm and a collection agency. The quality is equal, and if not better with us, which is why we scored higher, because government collections is our niche. But that brick and mortar building sitting here in Longview is truly not relevant to this business. And yes, sir.
Okay.
Go ahead, please.
Go ahead, Mr. Frost.
I was concerned about total revenue.
Right.
If we said, if you did a 20% deal, would that incentivize you to go out and collect more money?
Say it again. If you,
Okay. The higher commission, we get a higher commission, would that incentivize your firm to go out and collect more revenue for us?
it shouldn't. Again, that's why that 30% mandate is a great example of the way the collections industry works.
But it's more than the other two added together.
That is very true, but even if you talk with Hank and some of the guys at EMS, some of the problems you're having right now are not somebody picking up the phone and getting them on the phone to give them a payment. We're having nursing homes here in the city of Longview who are just flat out ignoring the city and saying, we're not going to pay. So what we said I'm just using this one example of the many intricacies in this collections contract that your committee has vetted, but the city of Longview and the agencies you've used in the past is just letting that nursing home get away with it. So you talk with the State Association of Ambulances and EMS groups, and they'll tell you exactly what we need to be doing is going there face-to-face and meeting with them and telling them, hey, you're breaking the law, and these are the things that are going to happen, and you're going to have to get on a payment plan with the city of Longview. One of your nursing homes owes over $200,000. So it is not about how many payment options you have or whether technology is this or that. The idea is that it is a complete and very, very intricate process on all three. And when you're doing an umbrella collections plan for the municipal court, for water and utilities, and for accounts receivable, EMS, et cetera, it is a group effort. It is combining all of them. We don't lobby. We don't go around and meet with people behind the scenes because that's how strongly we feel about our product. So I was surprised when I heard some of these things, and I did say it was misinformation because it truly is. The collection rates are in here in the proposal, both from Linebarger and from us.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. I think, yes.
The 12% that we're showing to pay there
Yes, sir.
as your fee for collection, is this standard, or do you see higher fees in other parts of the country? What that 12%, I think what Mr. Frost was talking about, how does that fluctuate? What numbers, up or down?
I think you'll see it anywhere in between that 12% up to 30% in some areas. You know, we do EMS collections for the city of Austin. We do EMS collections for several large municipalities around the nation. And basically, it's very similar to this situation for Austin. It's a 30% add-on for municipal court, and then we do something right there between 12 and 15% for water utilities and for EMS for Austin.
12 to 15% is a common figure on EMS and water utilities then, is your percentage.
I believe so, yes, sir. But I
just want to
Mr. Sims?
How many agents with your company live here in Longview?
we don't have any agents that live here in Longview.
Well, I was given some misinformation, or I would have been talking about this earlier. I understood that you had people here in Longview, like your competitor does.
Well, that's an attorney's office. Again, that's
It
not a
doesn't matter. I
collector.
want a direct line
Right.
to someone I can pick up the phone and call them and tell them, what in the world are you doing? Let's
That's
get with
exactly
it.
right.
And if you're sitting down in Austin, I can't do that. So that's another objection.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it. Okay, council, we have one motion. What do we need to do now?
Who made the first motion, Shelley?
Well, I'm, okay.
Why don't we, if nobody objects, somebody can make a motion at this time to either accept or to reject.
Okay. I have a motion to accept.
I'll second.
Oh, second.
Discussion.
Pardon me?
Discussion before we vote.
Oh, okay.
I'd like to say one more thing.
All right.
Right.
So I have a motion and a second to accept. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, say aye. Aye. So we're in a tie.
Okay.
Okay, we have a discussion.
That's okay, we already voted. I wanted to say something before we voted.
Show of hands, all in favor, say aye. By raising your hand. All opposed? And Miss Cash is not here tonight, so we'll have to table this item, I would.
Well, yeah, we'll just, I mean, you can make the motion, but it seems like it would be fruitless at this point to reject it, but we will have to reject it in the future, so we'll have to bring it back at the next meeting.
All right, so you saying we need to make a motion to reject as well?
Not tonight, but in the future, we'll have to bring this back for the December meeting. Unless somebody wants, we can make a motion to reject at this time if somebody wants to reject it and start over.
Okay, somebody want to make that motion? All right, we have a motion to reject.
Second?
Is there a second to reject, which I guess would be the same thing as we just voted on?
Not really.
Okay.
Not really, it's different.
Okay. So I have a motion to reject. Is a second, a motion to, second motion to reject? I have a second. All in favor say, for rejection, say aye. 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 All opposed?
No.
Okay, so same thing.
That's all I'm saying. We'll just come back in December. We'll have to
Okay,
Make a
that
decision.
sounds like a plan. All righty, we'll move on now. Let's go to items of community interest. Mr. Sims.
Oh, we just got through with interesting exchange. It's very refreshing when we do this because I think in the last few months we've kind of gotten a little blah. You know, there hasn't been any excitement, and my old ticker needs excitement.
Okay.
We've got Thanksgiving coming up around the bend. Hope all of the citizens eat a lot of turkey and dressing and have a good time with their family. I'm looking forward to my family coming in, and that's about it.
Okay, Mr. Garrett.
All right, number one, the new compost site is open in the southwest Longview at 2020 Swinging Bridge Road. Free compost with water bill.
Excuse me, make sure to tell them what the phone number is, 'cause you got mine.
237.
No,
I'm not sure what the phone number is. Oh, I got yours, okay.
903-236-3066 for more information. I'm gonna scratch that off of mine.
Okay.
Y'all need to start getting with Gary before y'all give me these things.
Oh, okay. I use Channel 5 to get this information. I don't know if you got this one out. Trash Bash, you got that one?
I didn't get that one.
Okay.
Go ahead. That's yours.
The Trash Bash was very successful on Saturday. I drove out there Saturday and I saw a 45-foot trailer packed with old tires and electronic devices. So, Ms. Kim Droege, you guys did a great job out there with a bunch of people out there also. Okay. I got one more item, Mr. Mayor. This is new, and it's just a thought off the top of my head.
Okay.
Starting January 14th, I don't have all the details for this yet, but I will be hosting a coffee with the councilman of the Southwest at Deb's Cafe, 8:30 in the morning. I hadn't got a date set yet, but and our topic is going to be improving the Southwest. coffee on me and stay tuned for further results.
All right, so you buying the coffee?
I'm buying the coffee,
Oh,
so
man. Can anybody come?
anybody can come.
All right, there you go. Thank you, Gary. Mr. Frost?
Well, we've had a couple of exciting situations in Longview this past week. We opened up Hawkins Parkway to Tryon Road, had a ribbon cutting. We went out to the Beirut, the old Holiday Inn, and we started tearing it down with sledgehammers. So everything's moving on in Longview. Great time.
Good job.
I wish Thanksgiving to all the people in Longview. Have a blessed Thanksgiving and with your family and friends.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Richard?
Yeah, one thing. Yeah, I was fun because you could tell Miss Williams never swung a sledgehammer before because she almost hit you in the head when she was swinging.
She probably was trying to hit me in the head.
Tomorrow, we have the inaugural meeting of the Comprehensive Plan Advisory Committee. You've heard me speak about this before. We're really excited about this. It's an 18-month, couple $100,000 project the city has embarked on. Just want to encourage you and anyone you know to give us input. There's so many different ways that you can give us input via surveys from numerous websites that we're partnering with the paper to make sure that paper that information gets out. And again, it starts tomorrow. There'll be 5 or 6 different opportunities for you to attend town hall style meetings to come and speak about anything you'd like to speak about through the process. So again, that starts tomorrow.
Okay, thank you, Richard. Mr. Allen?
Well, looking forward to a wonderful Thanksgiving. Great to be in the city of Longview, Texas, where we continue to have more business, more economic activity, and we'll try our best to take care of your money. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Annual Thanksgiving food drive to take place on Monday before Thanksgiving at Maud Cobb Convention and Activity Complex. More information, please visit longviewthanksgiving.com. I'm a scratch-off compost site, thanks to Mr. Gary. City offices will be closed for Thanksgiving on Thursday, November 28th and Friday, November 29th. Trash will not be collected on those days. Longview Transit will close at noon on Wednesday, November 27th, but will open on Friday after Thanksgiving. Tonight, we honored our former mayor with the naming of the ball field, and I'd like to ask you and all the citizens to please keep Earl Roberts Jr.'s family in your prayers. We're gonna adjourn to executive session, personnel matters under Texas Government Code Section 551.074. Consider, discuss, and deliberate performance evaluations for the city attorney, city secretary. We do not need to come back. Okay. We'll adjourn to executive session.